This story takes place in the USA in 2020. Meet Mary Collins. Mary was born on July 6, 2000, in North Carolina. Her mother, Cassie Del Pezzo, gave birth to her, but it was her grandmother, Mia Alderman, who raised her. Mia loved Mary like her own child and provided her with a stable home when her mother couldn't. At the age of 3, Mary was diagnosed with 22q syndrome, a rare condition caused by a tiny missing part of chromosome 22. This condition made learning and growing harder for Mary and required her to have lifelong medical care. On top of this, she was born with a hidden cleft palate, a problem with the roof of her mouth that made eating and speaking difficult. It was so severe that she needed surgery, and doctors worried she might never speak. But Mary proved them wrong. Before she could talk, she found other ways to communicate. She used sign language, gestures, and wrote in a notebook. The first sign she learned was friend. When she turned 6, she beat the odds and began to speak. When Mary was 8, her grandmother took her to a university to help with a study on 22q syndrome. For her help, Mary was given $100 each time she participated. While most kids would spend this money on toys or treats, Mary chose to donate it all to Smile Train, a group that helps kids get surgeries for cleft palates. She wanted other children to have the same chance she did to smile and speak. Mary was kind and gentle. Her elementary school principal said she loved giving hugs in the hallways. School was not always easy for her because of her learning challenges, and her speech made her a target for bullies. In high school, Mary had a boyfriend named Lavi Pham. They started as friends, and their relationship grew into something more. However, it didn't last long. People thought Mary wasn't interested in the physical side of the relationship and preferred to stay just friends. Despite the breakup, Mary and Lavi remained friends, though this would later play a role in what happened next. After finishing high school, Mary's friends all went off to college. Due to her 22q syndrome, Mary's mental development stayed at a 15-year-old's level. Often, her siblings and cousins weren't around, leaving her vulnerable and unable to distinguish between friends and enemies. Unfortunately, Mary was sometimes naive. She thought all people were kind and failed to see any hidden malice. Around the age of 18, Mary started getting upsetting messages online. A particular person focused on her, posting mean comments on her photos, and then switching to apologies and kindness, creating a cycle of harassment and manipulation. However, this wasn't just ordinary teenage cyberbullying. The person behind this was a 24-year-old woman named Kelly Levy. Kelly came from a very wealthy family in South Carolina and had always gotten everything she wanted. She was truly a pampered princess. So why was she so fixated on Mary? It turns out Kelly was dating Mary's boyfriend, Lavi, and her jealousy towards Mary was intense. It pleased Kelly to put Mary down. She often sent messages bragging about her wealth, her grades, and her perfect life. In one message, she even claimed she could be mean because she was rich. Kelly was known for harassing other girls online too, and Mary was no exception. Her cruel game continued for a while as she pretended to be Mary's best friend one moment, only to turn around and bully her the next. Even Lavi joined in with hurtful comments. Kelly would pose as Lavi to start light chats with Mary on social media, then suddenly attack her, accusing her of chasing after her boyfriend. It was a very harsh trap, and it went on for quite some time. Eventually, Kelly and Lavi tricked Mary into thinking they were really her friends. But to those who knew Mary well, it was clear that these two were trouble. When Mary's family saw the relentless online harassment, the cruel comments, and the obsessive fixation, they began to warn her. They explained that these people were not her friends, but Mary just didn't understand and forgave them. Sadly, she believed that their acts of friendship were genuine. On the 28th of March, 2020, Kelly and Lavi asked Mary if she wanted to come to their apartment to hang out. Mary's family knew about her issues with Kelly, so they didn't like the idea of them hanging out together. Her grandmother, Mia, begged her to stay home, but Mary wanted her independence, and in the end, Mia always gave in. And so, Mary went. Her so-called friends, Kelly and Lavi, sent an Uber to pick her up, taking her to their upscale North Davidson apartment in Charlotte, at a complex called Yard Apartments. At the age of 19, Mary left home at around 2:30 p.m. on the 28th of March, 2020. She was last seen walking along Burnley Road in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then she was never seen alive again. After Mary arrived at Kelly and Levy's apartment, her phone signal and her presence on social media ceased. This was very unlike Mary, and her family grew incredibly concerned. A day went by, and it was now the 29th of March. Her grandmother became very concerned as she hadn't heard from Mary in over 24 hours. But before her grandmother could check on Mary herself, Levy posted a video. It showed Levy, Kelly, and Mary picking up her favorite takeaway, laughing and enjoying each other's company. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, and there was now no reason for immediate concern. Mary was safe for now, but everything changed once the three re-entered the apartment. As that night developed, Levy and Kelly decided to invite other people over to their apartment. A friend of Levy's, named James Solero, who was 21 years old and had a criminal history dating back to 2017, including charges such as robbery with a dangerous weapon, conspiracy to commit armed robbery, and more recent offenses like reckless driving and a hit and run, was also involved. Shortly after James arrived, he invited his relatively new 18-year-old Tinder date, America Deal. He had described Mary as the strange girl in Kelly's apartment to pique America's curiosity. Soon after, America joined the gathering at the apartment where Levy, Kelly, James, and she began drinking alcohol and using illegal substances in large amounts. It is believed that Mary did not partake in these activities, as it would have been highly uncharacteristic for her. However, Levy secretly added substances to her drinks, specifically Xanax and MDMA. This was known because Levy texted Kelly during the evening, saying, "Another bar down," referring to the Xanax, which is typically 4 times the standard dose and strong enough to significantly disorient someone not used to taking it. This combination of drugs likely left Mary feeling uneasy and vulnerable, experiencing intense emotional fluctuations. Levy kept James updated via text about the progress they were making in drugging Mary. The act of a man spiking a woman's drink with Xanax has grim implications, as it has often been used for the purpose of sexual assault. Before long, Mary began to lose consciousness intermittently. At this point, the group made their intentions clear. They suggested engaging in a threesome, something that appears to have been premeditated, but Mary, true to her nature, was not interested in any physical relationship with Levy, nor with Kelly as evidenced in the court proceedings. Despite their efforts to drug her, her refusal infuriated them. Kelly's demeanor shifted drastically from feigning friendship to manifesting as a deeply sadistic individual. At this stage, it's alleged that America decided to retire for the evening, although this isn't confirmed. Following Kelly's commands, it's alleged that Levy and James escalated their abuse by placing a dog collar around Mary's neck. Attached to this collar was a lead. The group then forced Mary into the master bedroom's ensuite bathroom and tied her hands and feet together using clothing. They then pushed Mary into the bathtub, as it was isolated and contained, making it a suited spot for their grim intentions. Mary, with her small and delicate frame, had no means to resist and no escape. Moreover, due to her cleft palate, she couldn't even scream for help. All she could do was lay there, trapped in her drug-induced haze. Kelly, Levy, and James retrieved several knives from the kitchen, including one with a serrated blade, and returned to the bathroom. They started by making superficial cuts on her legs and torso, not to kill, but to inflict pain. These initial wounds were designed to cause significant suffering without being fatal. As their cruelty escalated, they began stabbing her repeatedly across her body. The stabs were strategically shallow to avoid vital organs and major blood vessels. Their primary goal was to inflict the maximum amount of pain. This act was nothing short of torture. In the chaos, Kelly accidentally cut Levy, illustrating the frenzied nature of their assault. In total, Mary was stabbed 157 times. The group then struck Mary over the head with bottles, causing severe blunt force trauma to her head and scalp. Mary's condition was dire. She was losing blood rapidly. The sheer number of superficial wounds led to significant blood loss, yet there was no critical damage to her organs or major blood vessels. In the midst of her agony, the two men indulged in their own depravities. After a while, the attackers grew tired of their brutal activity and abandoned Mary in the bathtub. She was left alone, in a state of terror, gradually succumbing to the severity of her injuries, betrayed and assaulted by those she believed were her friends. However, the dehumanization of Mary didn't end there. America claimed that she set her alarm for 7 a.m. the following day because she needed to take her mother to work. The next morning, she got up, grabbed some cigarettes, and left. James then met America at her mother's workplace, picking her up after she dropped her car off at home. Together, America and James returned to the apartment. Upon their arrival, Levy and Kelly were standing in the master bedroom. America walked in, with James following her, ushering her into the bedroom. James then closed the door behind her. Then one of them opened the bathroom door. Inside, blood was everywhere. Mary lay in the bathroom, still, with her body covered in horrific injuries, her neck sliced open, and a chain leash wrapped around it. When America saw this, she claimed she was horrified. She said she wanted to leave and allegedly begged them to take her home, but they had other plans for her. They wouldn't let her go, not until she helped them clean up. America claimed that if she refused, they threatened to sexually assault and kill her. According to America, no one showed any remorse for what had been done to Mary. Kelly, wielding a knife, held it to America's throat, ordering her to take trash bags and plastic wrap and begin the process of covering Mary's body. Reluctantly, America complied, becoming an unwilling participant in their grim task. As she was wrapping Mary's body, Levy made a chilling admission. He claimed that he and James had sexually assaulted Mary as she lay dying, and in her final moments, they slit her throat. If this account is true, it represents an unimaginable level of depravity. The group then proceeded to conceal their actions more permanently. They cut a large hole in the underside of the master bedroom's mattress and placed Mary's body inside, along with clothing and cleaning materials. They then duct taped the mattress shut, hoping to evade detection and plan for a later disposal of the body. The cruelty and calculation in their actions were staggering, a stark testimony to the depths of their brutality. Meanwhile, back at Mary's home, her grandmother, Mia, had been trying unsuccessfully to reach Mary, and by the 30th of March, 2020, Mary's phone was turned off. Concerned, Mia wasted no time and went directly to Kelly and Levy's apartment. Upon arrival, she knocked on the door but received no answer initially. Persistent, Mia continued until Kelly finally answered the door. Convinced that her granddaughter was inside, Mia was met with Kelly's insistence that Mary had left earlier that day. Not believing a word, Mia began to scream, calling out for Mary and causing a commotion in the apartment in hopes of finding her. To prevent further suspicion and avoid drawing attention from the neighbors, Kelly reluctantly allowed Mia inside. Mia searched the apartment thoroughly, but was barred from entering the master bedroom. Kelly's excuse was that Lavi was inside, which only heightened Mia's suspicions. Unable to proceed further with Kelly blocking the way to the bedroom, Mia left the apartment and immediately filed a police report, declaring Mary as a missing person. However, Mia stressed to the police that Mary was particularly vulnerable and could be in imminent danger. Despite the urgency conveyed by the family, the police response was lackluster. They categorized the case as low risk, suggesting Mary might have simply run away, a frequent claim refuted by her family. The following day, on March 31st, a police officer responded to Mia's 911 call and visited the apartment, but left after finding no response at the door, maintaining the assumption that Mary's disappearance was not critical. This dismissal occurred despite the family's efforts to escalate the matter, including speaking to the apartment's office manager in hopes of acquiring surveillance footage that could confirm Mary's presence since the 28th. The family's persistence met with minimal police action. In a further attempt to find Mary, the police were finally persuaded to inspect the apartment. Levy, answering the door, initially denied entry to the officers, demanding a warrant. After some negotiation, he allowed Mary's mother to enter. Inside, the apartment was in disarray. Mary's mother quickly noticed that the ensuite bathroom door was closed, and Kelly was under the sheets in the bedroom, feigning sleep, an act meant to divert attention and prevent any search of the bed where Mary was hidden. No extensive search was conducted by the police that day. leaving the family outraged and convinced that something sinister had occurred in the apartment. Adding to the indignity, the police, upon leaving, informed the apartment manager there was no need to review the CCTV footage. This decision led to the eventual destruction of crucial video evidence that month, erasing any potential leads that could have been used in future investigations. The series of oversights and misjudgments by the police only compounded the family's frustration and grief, as they were left to grapple with the harsh reality of the system's failures in their dire time of need. On the 1st of April, 5 days after Mary was last seen, her family began distributing flyers and posters. They also set up 24-hour surveillance of the apartment to monitor anyone coming or going. However, Levy and Kelly soon noticed they were being watched and called 911, claiming they felt unsafe. The lead detective on the missing person case then requested that the family cease their surveillance activities. On the 2nd of April, 2020, the family escalated their efforts by hiring bloodhounds and drones to search the area surrounding the apartment. Despite these efforts, the police were not conducting any additional inquiries or searches. The family's search turned up nothing, and they were close to losing hope. However, later that night, a breakthrough came when a witness, a friend of James, came forward with alarming information. He reported that James had confided in him about attending a party where Mary was drugged, beaten, and killed, and her body was subsequently hidden under a mattress. Armed with this new information, the lead detective visited the apartment the next day. Rather than conducting a thorough search himself, he instructed Levy and Kelly to lift the mattress. Unfortunately, the detective did not personally verify beneath the mattress, which was a critical oversight. If he had, he might have discovered the weight of the hidden body, but he left without further investigation. On the 4th of April, the same key witness reiterated his statement, emphasizing that the police had overlooked Mary during their initial search. He clarified that Mary's body was concealed inside the mattress, not merely under it. Later that afternoon, another damning piece of evidence emerged, a recorded conversation from another witness. In this recording, James disclosed that Levy had offered him $4,000 to remove something from the apartment. Furthermore, during a meeting at a park with James and America, more details were revealed. James recounted the violent events that transpired in the apartment, including the moment he saw Mary bound and Levy and Kelly violently attacking her with a bottle. This recording also contained information about the cleanup process involving plastic bags and plastic wrap. With this compelling evidence, the police finally issued a search warrant. When they arrived at the apartment to execute the warrant, there was initially no response. Levy was not present and Kelly could not be reached, but Levy soon returned, and the police began their search. Inside, they found Kelly passed out on the floor of the guest room, apparently intoxicated or under the influence of drugs, prompting the officers to call for an ambulance. The situation was dire, and it was clear that a serious crime had taken place, setting the stage for a deeper investigation into the horrific acts committed against Mary. As the investigators entered the master bedroom, a chilling atmosphere enveloped them. They found plastic bags and plastic wrapping strewn about, corroborating the witness statements they had collected. The scene shifted dramatically as their attention turned to the bed, cluttered with random items. After clearing the debris, they lifted the mattress, which was immediately noticeable as being off, flipped upside down and taped along the sides and corners with silver tape. Upon slicing open the mattress, the investigators unearthed several flattened cardboard boxes labeled with names and tracking information, one for Kelly and one for Levy. Hidden beneath these boxes was the grim discovery of Mary's body, meticulously wrapped in saran wrap, duct tape, and black trash bags. Compounds, such as shower gel and dish soap, had been liberally applied over her body in a futile attempt to mask the stench of decay. The search grew more intense as evidence continued to surface around the bedroom. A bloody knife was found, along with Mary's identification and bank cards, suggesting a hurried attempt to link her to the scene. In the bathroom, a serrated knife lay abandoned in the sink, while the bath mat and shower curtain bore multiple bloodstains, silent witnesses to the horrors that had occurred. Despite the perpetrator's efforts to cleanse the scene, Mary's DNA was pervasive, marking every corner of the crime scene. The arrival of an ambulance at the apartment initially gave Mary's family a fleeting hope that she had been found alive. However, this hope was devastatingly crushed when they learned the ambulance was there for Kelly, not Mary. The reality of Mary's murder sank in deeply as her body was transported for an autopsy. She had been encased in 2 plastic trash bags, sealed with tape and entirely enshrouded in duct tape and plastic wrap. A black t-shirt, tied tightly around her upper neck, bore the DNA of her assailants, a conclusive link to their heinous acts. Upon removal of the layers that cocooned her, the full extent of Mary's brutal torture and murder was laid bare. The severity of her injuries was such that even seasoned law enforcement officers were left speechless by the cruel intent and barb. When the 4 suspects were taken into police custody for questioning, the unity among them quickly dissolved, as they each provided conflicting accounts of the events. Kelly, Levy, and James were arrested and charged with kidnapping, murder, and concealing a death. America, however, was not immediately charged. It wasn't until the 12th of May that she faced charges for felony accessory and concealing a death. The case slowly progressed to trial. On June 3, 2020, Kelly entered a guilty plea to charges of second-degree murder, concealment of a body, and first-degree kidnapping as part of a plea agreement with prosecutors. She received a prison sentence of 25 to 32 years. This resolution, however, did not sit well with Mary's family, who had hoped for a harsher sentence given the brutal nature of the crime. During her statement to the court, Kelly expressed remorse, saying, "I want to pray for Mary that she's in peace and that she knows I'm so very sorry for what happened to her."
I am so sorry that you're hurting. Mary's death is a tragedy. It never should have happened, and I wish there was something I could do to take away your pain.
Her words were met with disdain from Mary's family, feeling like a mere formality rather than a genuine apology. Levy, charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, and failing to report a death, along with James and America, pleaded not guilty. As of January 2025, they await their trials, the delays due primarily to a backlog in the courts. Both Amer and James were granted bail, while Lavi remains incarcerated, awaiting his day in court. In response to the tragedy and the ongoing legal proceedings, Mary's family established a nonprofit organization named Mary's Voice. This initiative aims to honor Mary's memory and raise awareness about her case, advocating for victims and seeking to prevent similar tragedies. The family's message underscores a profound truth. Nobody wins in murder, not the victims nor the perpetrators. It is an utterly senseless act. As the family braces for the upcoming trials, they hold on to hope that justice will be served and that the full extent of the law will address the wrongs endured by Mary. They yearn for a resolution that reflects the severity of the crime and brings some measure of peace to those left in its wake.